This is interesting. There's a rumour going around that Carrie Symonds pronounces her surname Simons. So we thought we'd ring the press office at Downing Street to find out. And they got back to us and said they don't know.
They don't know?
They have no idea. Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Alexander Armstrong. In the news this week, in Kettering, after vital machinery fails at the walnut whip factory, the foreman takes drastic action. In Yorkshire, 2 pensioners celebrate surviving a year of lockdown with no medical mishaps. And at a farm in Cumbria, the new record holder of the world's longest crow keeps the title for a tragically short amount of time. On Ian's team tonight is a comedian who changed his name to Hugo Boss in protest at the aggressive legal action taken by their lawyers. But he soon changed it back after Hugo Boss threatened him with a really nasty suit. Please welcome Joe Lycett.
Hey.
And with Paul tonight is a TV presenter who in her long career has interviewed both Pete Doherty and Alex Salmond. But then again, so have the police. Please welcome Kirsty Wark. We begin with the bigger stories of the week. Paul and Kirsty, have a look at this.
Ooh, Dominic Cummings taking a lamp back to John Lewis.
Yes, this is him sort of dealing with the common people. Get out of my way. There's Boris Johnson once again excelling at sport. And there he is using his own...
Whitewash.
I was going to say something else, but it would, that amount of pressure a man that age wouldn't be possible.
Yes, this is the news that Boris Johnson has poked the bear. Or as Robert Colville in The Times put it, Number 10 has started a petrol fight with an arsonist. Dominic Cummings has taken to his blog, making a series of damaging assertions about Boris Johnson. Before we get to the assertions themselves, though, why has he done this?
Because an accusation was made by a source at Downing Street to say that he was the chatty rat who leaked details of a lockdown which I don't think Boris Johnson wanted. I think he said it in very graphic terms.
The thing about the bodies piling up.
Is it true, is it not true? We don't know.
The great thing about this scandal is that it's complicated in the who leaked what business, and I thought the public's not going to get interested in this. And then it turned out it was about John Lewis furniture. I'm that cross, really, because most of my house is John Lewis. And the idea that...
He's homeless, he lives in John Lewis.
But again, it just shows how little the Prime Minister understands the public, in that he thinks if his girlfriend's snotty about John Lewis, then that's fine. It's old Granny Theresa May. Oh, ghastly, embarrassing style. Who do you think votes for you?
I gave Carrie the benefit of the doubt, but now I've realised that she's like a lot of my girlfriends that have Instagram accounts for their home renovations. I'm sure you see this all the time, Ian.
Yeah, no.
Get furious about it. And they, spare me. You know, 2 trips to H&M Home and they think they're John Rocher all of a sudden.
It's another bit of the snobbery. I mean, one of the newspapers has started calling her Carrie Antoinette. John Lewis have made much capital this week. They put out a really funny tweet.
That's right, yes. Time for an interiors refresh. We pride our home design service on having something for almost everything. Yes. Yeah. The Daily Mail's Sarah Vine has got something to say on the matter. Here she is on Radio 4's Today programme.
The Prime Minister can't be expected to live in a skip.
I think we all imagine Boris Johnson living in a skip.
That's where he gets his hair done, anyway. There is a huge difference between living in a skip and getting someone else to pay for your decoration. There's a spectrum there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Sort of...
She's missed entirely.
Yes.
One of the allegations that Dominic Cummings makes in his blog is that the leaking last year of details about the second lockdown was not him. Who does he say it was?
Michael Gove.
Near.
Near. A guy called Mauve. Anybody called Guy called Mauve? Can we look that up? Is there anybody called Guy called Mauve?
The argument was whether it was this friend of Carrie's called Henry Newman or whether it was Cummings. And you've got, I mean, it's a very, very difficult thing to assess. You've got the Prime Minister saying one thing and Dominic Cummings saying exactly the opposite. I mean, which one do you think is lying? Answer both.
So are we any the wiser about who actually paid for the refurbishments then?
No.
I did. I'm here to reveal
Kirsty
it
isn't,
me.
because she doesn't want to be sacked. But I think everybody else is. It's Lord Brownlow, isn't it?
Is
So
it?
a Conservative Party donor paid the bill initially, this is the suggestion, and then Boris Johnson repaid the donor, in which case a loan should have been declared, but then it wasn't.
I mean, Kevin Maguire in The Mirror suggested it was a bit like a shoplifter being caught outside the building saying, I'm going to pay, I was always going to pay.
So what did Labour demand should be done?
Death.
That's quite harsh, even for Keir Starmer.
Was it not death?
It wasn't, no. They demanded a senior minister be put forward to clarify who had paid for the cost of the refurbishment.
Yes, the same as death.
Instead, they got Liz Truss.
Yeah, death.
There we are. So here she is.
The Prime Minister has met the costs of the Downing Street refurbishment from his own pocket. As I've said, he has met the costs out of his own pocket. But I do know that he has met the costs from his own pocket. We're very clear he hasn't broken the rules, that he has acted in line with the declarations that need to be made, and he has met the costs himself.
It's what she went into politics for.
She's taking a very firm line there.
The idea is he's met the costs from his own pocket, but it doesn't say who filled his pocket 5 minutes
An
before.
awful lot of focus on Boris's pocket. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about that very safe.
Imagine them turned out with nothing in them most of the time.
Liz Truss there looked like her face was trying to escape her own head.
She's got other things to try and escape from. Have a look at this. She's taking a firm line despite everything they're throwing at her.
Grieve yesterday said that he was a vacuum of integrity. Johnny Mercer said this week it's the most distrustful
It's a curse, isn't it?
That's Carrie throwing out a John Lewis curtain rail.
The hat stand.
Yeah.
Be gone. But honestly, do we care? Don't we just want the Prime Minister to focus on the pandemic? Isn't this all just tittle-tattle? Doesn't the British public just want Boris Johnson to get on with the job? I've paraphrased there, just so we don't actually have to listen to Grant Shapps.
I actually know how all of this ends. It reminds me exactly of my friend Claire and Steph from Birmingham. They're in a WhatsApp group that I'm in, and Steph put on the WhatsApp group that she'd got a new bedspread and said it was from Debenhams. Claire said she'd seen the same one in Home Bargains. Then they stopped talking for a long time. It's very icy in that WhatsApp group. A few weeks later, Steph went at Claire outside Timpson's with some freshly cut keys.
Wow. Well, that covers that story. You don't need to end it, Alexander.
No. Well, the Electoral Commission is now going to investigate, saying there are reasonable grounds to suspect an offence or offences may have occurred. Ominous use.
What was that in terms of clashing colours or, you know...
There's going to be an internal inquiry into whether Boris Johnson broke the ministerial code. Who will have the final say on that matter?
He will.
Carrie.
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson.
It's called an internal inquiry because you can shove the findings up your arse.
And that is more or less exactly what will happen.
Yeah.
When Boris hosted this show many years ago, he was meant to be here at 1 o'clock and he said, I've got to go and buy a Christmas tree. And he disappeared for 3 or 4 hours and then came back again. Now, that story is relevant because this was in April.
Meanwhile, why was Tony Blair trending this week?
Something about his hair. I didn't see the photograph, but he's got long hair.
Come to think of it, Paul.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Paul, I
What?
think yours is better, though.
I haven't seen his hair yet, so I don't know whether that's an insult.
OK, let's have a look. Yes, by the way, it was his hair.
Yes, my hair's better than that.
I think it is.
I don't look like the drummer in Iron Maiden.
I quite like it. You know, it's been a long pandemic, couldn't get to the barber. I only look like this because my live-in gardener's very good with secateurs.
Well, this is the continuing row between Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings, and it looks like there can only be one winner. Rishi Sunak helpfully revealed this week that he had paid for his own flat refurbishment in full. That's how you behave in the public life, with honesty, integrity, and by being married to a billionaire. Commenting on the row over the redecorating of the flat, one Telegraph journalist said that Boris may have left a damaging paper trail. Clearly didn't use enough paste. Boris has also recently acquired this painting.
Oh.
Yeah, nice. According to the Mail, he bought it using PayPal, not the online finance system. He just gets his pals to pay. Meanwhile, in the Lulu Little showroom, one man stands and dreams.
He's in John Lewis. He deliberately went to John Lewis to do a photo op, and the Conservative spokesman said, "Look at him, he's playing politics." He thought, that's his job. He's the leader of the opposition.
Ian and Joe, take a look at this.
Oh, well, that's some innocent people who, after a long struggle, have proved their innocence. Post-masters. There's someone who's not innocent. That's the former chief executive, Paula Fennell. She's guilty. There she is, humping mail bags. That'll be her next profession. Sewing them. So it's a fantastic result. 39 people, one of the biggest miscarriages of justice this country's ever seen, have cleared their reputations. And they were locked up and their lives were ruined and their reputations were destroyed because the post office said, you're stealing at the end of the day from your machines. And they weren't. It was a classic, the computer had got it wrong. It was a faulty IT system, and for nearly 10 years, the post office continued to say, no, the computer says yes, you're guilty. I mean, you know, it was that feeble.
And also people were told that they were the only people who had done this.
Yeah.
They weren't told that there was dozens or hundreds of other people.
And you thought somebody in the post office might have said, how is it that a disproportionate amount of dishonest people come and work for the post office? Because the company, the post office chief execs, were the only ones that knew how many there were. And you say 39, but there are a lot more cases still to come.
Yeah. Yes, no. I mean, it was 39 acquittals.
Yeah.
But the case action was about 500.
Yeah.
But you should take a bounty, because
500.
Private Eye was the magazine for the last 10 years that's been pushing this story, haven't you? Been investigating it.
But we have banged on about it quite a lot. But, you know, Computer Weekly started it off, and there was a good BBC programme called Inside Out South, which you should take about. Yeah. So, and some brilliant, obviously, postmasters themselves saying, I don't think I should have been locked up. And why did no one believe us for this amount of time? This is useless government IT. The same firm, Fujitsu, did the NHS IT system, which lost £12 billion and had to be scrapped because it was entirely useless.
Did they do the Nando's app? Because that's terrible. Nightmare. Every time I go for lemon and herb, it gives me extra spicy. I'm too delicate for it.
It doesn't arrest you afterwards, does it?
It probably gets close.
Yes, the Public Accounts Committee described their handling of the NHS patients' details as the worst contracting fiasco in the history of the public sector. That was before Test and Trace. Fujitsu, obviously, is the company. Horizon was the system.
Yeah.
When did Fujitsu become aware that the Horizon system they had developed was faulty?
10 years ago?
According to Computer Weekly, a senior software developer who worked at Fujitsu alleged that the system should never have been launched and that bosses at Fujitsu knew this. Everybody in the building, by the time I got there in 2001, knew it was a bag of shit. It had gone through the test labs, God knows how many times, and the testers were raising bugs by the thousand. Paula Venables, there she is. She'd be quite good in Line of Duty, wouldn't she? Sorry.
Looks like a crypt keeper. She is.
She's the former chief executive of the post office. Paula's a very accomplished woman. She's not only an ordained Anglican vicar, she also became a non-executive director at the supermarket chain Morrison's and the furnishings retailer Dunelm, an advisor to the Cabinet Office and chair of Imperial College NHS Trust, as well as overseeing the most widespread miscarriage of justice in British legal history. So well done, Paula. Why is Paula Venables taking all the blame for the post office fiasco?
It's her fault, I would say.
She was chief executive. Tim Parker was chairman.
Here he is, Tim Parker.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Was it low clouds that day? What the earth is going on there? Well, we can see where the money's gone, can't we?
It looks as though he's borrowed the judge's wig. Just put it on his head. He said of this he'd like to apologise for historic failures. by which he was trying to imply things that had happened a long, long time
Before he got there.
Before he got there, but it's just not true. You know, even a couple of years ago, the Post Office was trying to replace the judge who'd found the first lot of people innocent and saying he shouldn't be allowed to try the case anymore.
Why did they do this? I mean, presumably these people aren't evil, but what they did is so sort of incompetent and so dreadful. I mean, why couldn't they, at the beginning of this, say, look, it's been a terrible mistake? Why couldn't they admit to that?
It's partly due to, you know, you're picking up an enormous bonus, but also it's just the basic thing, I think, of just believing in technology.
Yeah.
I know that sounds very, very archaic and stupid, but if you've got people saying, no, it really wasn't us stealing, you could listen to them.
That would be a good punishment, actually, for those execs, wouldn't it? A lifetime of the computer disagreeing with them. You know, they go into the hospital with a broken leg. Sorry, actually, the computer says it's not broken,
In fact, it's better.
It's a fantastic
Or computer dating, setting them up with people who weren't very suitable. Yeah. The rest of their life. Every night.
All this began at the turn of the century. Around that time, the Royal Mail had decided it was going to be called something else. Do you remember that was?
Bastards are us.
No. Do you remember they decided they were going to be called Consignia?
Consignia, that's a sort of mafia post, isn't it? That's number 3.
Consigliere.
Oh, yes. Stupidity.
As the Royal Mail Chief Executive John Roberts explained, consignia describes the full scope of what the Post Office does in a way that the words post and office cannot. It cost £1 million for that idea, and it was ditched only 2 years after, amid general agreement that it was the most unpopular brand in UK marketing history. But let's give credit, as you did earlier, Ian, to Computer Weekly magazine, which led the investigation into the Post Office story. Did you see how they described the predictability of government-backed IT projects ending in failure? It goes something like this. Ambitious project, outsourcing, bloat, disaster, crash, spend, spend, spend.
That's the weekend for me.
So, yes, this is the sub-postmaster scandal and calls for former Post Office Chief Paula Venables to be stripped of her CBE. According to the Mail's brief biography of Paula Venables, until the Post Office catastrophe, her career, largely in retail, had been exemplary. Well, I'm guessing for many years, Harold Shipman was a top-notch GP. There was a solemn atmosphere in court as the judge read out the verdicts of the 39 sub-postmasters. Cashier number 1, not guilty. Cashier number 2, not guilty. Time now for round 2, the swirly picture of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's your first swirly picture. Yes, Kirsty.
Something has happened in Aberdeen. It's something to do with a retitling.
It is exactly to do with a retitling. It is Scottish investment house Standard Life Aberdeen has rebranded. It's now called Aberdeen.
No.
But still pronounced Aberdeen. Stephen Bird is the chief executive of the company. They're an Edinburgh-based company. What prompted them to make this change? Ditch all the vowels, some of the vowels.
I have no idea.
Was it a severe mental breakdown?
Maybe they took a lot of E, and they couldn't see the letter anymore.
Stephen Bird, the chief executive of the company, said the rename makes it more modern and dynamic. Sorry, dynamic. Can you see any potential issues with this new name?
They could go to PricewaterhouseCoopers and it'd be Rick.
Yes.
The minute you said that, I was like, I cannot wait to see what she does.
You rebranded as Hugo Boss.
I did, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any tips for Aberdeen?
Top tip, actually. It's very easy to change your name via deed poll. It's quite hard to change the other things, like your passport, whatever. I had an issue because, silly of me, really, but I made my signature a cock and balls, and the DVLA rejected me. So I would say, if you're going to rename yourself, don't make your signature a cock and balls. It's my cock tip for life.
Well, that's bad luck for somebody whose name is Cock and Balls, isn't it? I mean, that's terrible.
But cock and balls will be short for something like Coburn and Ballistic or something.
What else might be changing its name shortly?
Mount Snowdon.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Mount Snowdon.
It's going to be called...
A motion has been brought forward by a local councillor that it should only ever be referred to by its Welsh name.
I was born in Wales.
Yeah.
But I didn't spend very long there.
Oh.
I'r Woodfa.
Yrwydfa.
It's disgusting, these woke lefties, meaning that we can't dead name a mountain now.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes me sick. Sorry, I'm trying to add a bit of BBC, you know, what is it?
Racism.
Fury.
I tried to work out, because we're meant to be sort of a bit left and a bit right now, aren't we? Is that the idea?
Yes.
And I tried to work out if you could do a right-wing sewing bee. And I decided it wouldn't be called sewing bee, it'd be called Old Women and Puffs. And everyone on it would be called Gary. And I'd go around and say, what are you making, Gary? And he'd go, swastika blanket.
Wales's highest mountain, Snowdon, may soon only be called by its Welsh name. I believe the correct pronunciation of the mountain is, I'm going to have a go at it, wish me luck, Snowdon. This is part of a trend to reclaim traditional Welsh names that have been anglicised. For example, Councillor John Pugh Roberts said Hellfire Pass should be more accurately known as Bullhead Royce, or even more accurately, the A363. OK, fingers on buzzers.
I don't think I want to know what this story's about.
This is news that the COVID pandemic has changed the demand for some of the UK's most important goods. So here's what we're going to do. Fingers on buzzers, and we're going to do boom or doom. I.e., has the pandemic been brilliant for this brand or terrible?
Oh, fun.
OK, so fingers on buzzers. Corned beef, boom or doom? Joe?
Boom?
Boom, absolutely right, it's boom. According to the food industry publication The Grocer, sales of the canned meat rose by 9.8 million to 83.3 million in the last year.
Fantastic.
Who's responsible for this?
Me. I just love mush. Anything I can mush in, just punch it in. Great.
When I was very young, when I was like, before I was 10, I misread the label once. I thought it was cornered beef. This is how they caught the animals. They sort of like edged them into a corridor, and then it can't get out, and then you kill it. Cornered beef.
According to the commercial director for Princes, who make the stuff, lockdown has driven a trend towards nostalgia and comfort.
Yeah.
OK, here's your next one. Boom or doom? Portaloo. Yes.
Definitely boom.
It is absolutely right. Yes,
Definitely
they boomed. In fact, demand has rocketed so much there is a global shortage of Portaloos. According to The Times, an industry source says it's a mess. How they usually are. OK, fingers on buzzers. Next, boom or doom? Marmite.
Or...
Yes.
Doom.
Yes, doom. Why?
Because the others have been boom. And I would guess that there would be some variation at some point, otherwise it's bound to be called boom.
That's true. That's true. Marmite, apparently it's doomed. A reduction in beer making during the pandemic has meant there isn't enough yeast.
No yeast, not enough yeast.
By breweries.
So the stocks are low,
Yes.
but do people still want it?
Well, listen, Marmite fans, I mean, how have they reacted? How would you imagine?
With horror.
They have declared it to be Marmageddon. Last one, fingers on buzzers.
Yeah.
Naturists. Yes.
I'd say boom.
Boom, absolutely, yeah. According to British Naturism, staying at home has caused an explosion in naked living. Members have almost doubled in size. British Naturism embraced lockdown by running up to 100 online virtual events a month. Do you know what sort of things these have been?
Well, presumably you had to be a member to join.
Well, I don't know. They've done all sorts. There've been naked pub quizzes, to improvised drumming classes to beat out the stress. Apparently one popular class is Naked Kitchen with Pam, where participants are taught to make flapjacks and Victoria sponge. I mean, Pam's really taken off. Everything. Do you want to see her on Eamon Holmes' Ziz programme?
Literally on Eamon Holmes?
Ziz programme.
Oh, OK, sorry.
That's the thing you see, naked naturists on breakfast television, nowhere to put the mic.
It's not necessarily the mic, it's the battery pack you've got to worry about.
This is the news that people sheltering from COVID are seeking comfort by eating corned beef. Corned beef sales have risen particularly amongst millennials in London, and let's face it, turning that key is the closest they'll get to being on the property level. Lockdown has also seen a rise in websites for naked participants, including Naked Kitchen with Pam, where viewers are promised a tantalising glimpse of Pam's flapjacks. The spokesperson for British Naturism is called Andrew Welsh. Welsh, coincidentally, also the noise he makes when getting off a plastic camping chair. Time now for the missing words round. And we start with what causes fears of earthquake?
A particularly spicy dal.
Is it the arrival of Eric Pickles?
The answer is gender reveal party. A couple in New Hampshire's gender reveal party was such a hit that it sparked reports of an earthquake. The parents set off 80 pounds of dynamite at the gender reveal party for their child. As a result, we still don't know what sex the baby is, but we do know it's deaf. Next, the easiest TV quiz show to what is what?
To win is this.
Yeah. Why don't you do it then?
No, the easiest TV quiz show to win
Is name that fruit, which is on Tuesdays.
Pomegranate.
is... I'm going to give you it. Eggheads, because you...
What do you mean, name that fruit? I'm going to give it to you, eggheads. What are you talking about?
Eggheads is apparently the easiest one to win. According to The Times, the second most winnable quiz is Pointless, the daily quiz hosted by Alexander Armstrong and Richard Osman. I have to interject there. I think you'll find it's hosted by Alexander Armstrong. Richard is my assistant. It's just I can't.
How many programmes do you record in a day? It's about four. You can always tell the fourth one because you both look bored shitless.
Do we really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, God, we go to such lengths. Next, what found smothered in butter on Russell Road, Salisbury?
Russian agent.
Sleeping policeman. Parked car. What else did you get in a road? Double yellow lines. Garden gnome.
I'm going to give you that. Land Rover is the answer. That's not the worst of it on the way home.
I'm going to give you that.
Yeah, egghead.
On the basis of what?
He said car.
He said almost everything.
Yeah,
well, that's true.
Car, garden gnome and sleeping policeman. That is everything. I want to go on Mastermind, specialist subject everything.
Not the only instance of a luxury vehicle being damaged in that way. Just down the road, police found a couple of buttered rolls. And finally, scientists discovered dolphins can hold what?
Parish council meetings.
Pub quizzes. Grudge.
That's exactly right, yeah, grudges. They can hold grudges. Based on 30 years of observations, researchers from Bristol University noticed that dolphins hold deep-seated grudges against other dolphins. Here's one. Latin name Megan Marcellus. And so, therefore, the final scores are Ian and Joe on 5, Paul and Kirsty on 7.
No.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Joe Lycett, Paul Merton and Kirsty Wark. And I leave you with news that there's further bad news for Boris Johnson after he gets a tip-off telling him Carrie's been spotted at the Kensington branch of Farrow and Ball. As workers march on the Nike factory in Karachi, some demonstrators have clearly misheard the protest is over a huge scandal. And with the lifting of lockdown approaching, there's excitement in the West End as a new owner announces the reopening of Stringfellows. Good night.
Kick off the bank holiday in style with the likes of Tom Cruise and Kate Winslet, the best of Graham Norton at 10:45, and a real treat next on BBC One, back for a new series. This time it's His Time. Alan Partridge is front and centre in a mo.